I might have to make this into a 3-part series because I'm in the middle of the woods, kind of, sort of, and my phone is dying. But the gist of it is, what happened to me with all these assets is I started to understand, like, as these assets was growing, as these things was growing, and I saw the volatility and I was holding the money and I was not being attached to it, I started getting to the point to where I was okay with the volatility. I was okay with things not going right. I was okay with things moving within a certain way. And it got me to the point to where, like, as I watched the money, I became unattached to it. Kind of like when my car got in an accident the other day. I was like, it's just a car, I guess, but I guess, whatever. So as I became more and more unattached, I continued to move and observe patterns. That's what put me in a position to observe patterns. And that allowed me to see, like, hey, man, I'm losing money because I'm moving off thinking humans are doing right out here, doing faith, like following these deals, following all these communities. I need to slow this bleeding. So the way I slow the bleeding is I start looking at Bitcoin, and I used to always see all those athletes and all those things that say they got paid in Bitcoin and things like that. So I'm not gonna act like I came into it on I'm not gonna act like I came into Bitcoin on a almighty Bruce type of wave. I came into it just based off the numbers and based off the logic. But then I will agree, because it's something I really wanted to make its own topic one day. But it's something deeper than money to me. I know, like, Bitcoin itself forces the awareness to grow, and I see why, like, it's a divide. But because of my awareness, I don't never see divides. Like, I don't never pick one side or the other side. It's never like it's never Bitcoin or S&P or me, because for me to see the patterns, I have to remain objective, and I have to remain in a position of positivity, and the positivity that I try to keep, because people think I'm so positive in actuality. He pissed me off. But I say all that to say, I try to stay in a positive mindset. I try to stay in a mindset where, like, I see everything as inclusive. So when I talk about Bitcoin, that don't mean, like, I don't see other patterns and other things, but I strictly speak on things from a layer of consciousness. And once I got over the numbers part, and to be honest, I really don't know that much about Bitcoin, to be honest. I know the supply, I know the halving, I know all that stuff. I know baby basics. But beyond that, I came into it off a logic thing first, because I understood. Somebody told me a long time ago that Ethereum was expensive, and that clicked something in my head that nothing's expensive. Just mine more fiat if you want to. So I put myself in a position where I always remain in an abundance mindset, so nothing's never expensive to me. I always just keep it pushing. So when I saw Bitcoin, I didn't see it as expensive. I just saw it as something to peg my portfolio to. It's gonna go up, it's go down, it might retrace, whatever, blah blah blah. And then as I got into it as a layer of consciousness, I started to understand, as I started putting those overlays on it, how it moves the market, how it affects things, how it affects, like, like how the S&P started moving. I started making the correlations. I'm like, okay, that actually, I was still in memes a little bit when I discovered that, and it started to make me understand the moves and how things go from this way to that way. I said, okay, I got that now. Like, I started actually making money just by charting Bitcoin. So every day I woke up, even though I was mainly in memes, I would wake up every day and I would chart Bitcoin no matter what. And then, like, it became something like glue, so to speak. So eventually I got to the point that I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just go. Eventually I got to a point, something happened within the meme sector. I think that was my last hoorah. I said, you know what? I don't necessarily think nobody over here is bad, but it was more so of a spiritual thing for me. Everything I do, everything up to this point, not in the past, but now, almost everything I do, it relies on morals and integrity and a spiritual compass. And I try to move by that first, and to get the money second, because the creator showed me too many times that if I stay in the same energy, if I remain in the right energy, and if I do what I'm supposed to do, the money gonna come one way or another. It's just always happened that way. Sometimes not even through crypto. So I don't really tend to chase things, because I understand one way or another they're gonna come anyway. So anyway, as I started moving in that energy and I started continuing to get back to it, I started to understand, okay, ooh, allergies. I started to understand that Bitcoin was slowly reshaping my reality, and especially when I got into, like, Bitcoin, especially when I got into the paranoid anarchists, and I got into the Bitcoin army first, but when I got with them paranoid ones, they, like, really opened up my mind, because it's paranoid is saying you just using a little bit more awareness. So I would just put it like that. And then when they start putting that overlay on it, I'm like, hey, I found the place where I can be weird too. So then that's when I started having my grok conversations, and that's what actually made me start doing my overlays. I started realizing, like, oh, I can start overlaying, and that's how I reverse engineer my understanding of Bitcoin, through concepts. So when I start putting those concepts over, I started understanding. But because I had finally transitioned, at one point I was Bitcoin only, and when I was in that state, Not to be egotistical thing or nothing like that, but I felt like that was my highest state of consciousness as far as like awareness within things. Not because it was Bitcoin or anything like that, but it's actually because it put me in a point to where like I wasn't thinking about the money. I wasn't thinking about 10, 100 assets in my portfolio. Like most people know, I had 60 assets at one time. I wasn't waking up, like I said earlier, in the other one before it crashed. When I wake up and I'm trying to do 3D things, like today I gotta manage my car. Like I understand money is so I can detach, pay my bills, and then I can go over there and meditate and do what I gotta do. But when I was getting into like those things and I was starting to understand that, like say today, like when I had to drop my car off, and then tomorrow I gotta drop my other car off, like those things keep me kind of distracted, and it pulls me away from the thoughts where I can like really get into these talks like this, because I like these talks because these things, I even go back and I replay them and they elevate me to understanding more of myself and more of consciousness. And also, not only that, how to move and how to move the people around me. Because even when I was in the memes, Bitcoin, whatever, no matter where I'm at,